Cummings, former lead singer of the Guess Who. You're listening to BackstageAxxess.com, where the real show begins.
I'm Dee Haley with BackstageAxxess.com, and I'm talking with Burton Cummings, the famed lead singer and songwriter for the Guess Who. First off, thanks for taking the time to talk to us today, and I hear that congratulations are in order. It was announced this week that you're among the latest inductees to Canada's Walk of Fame.
Yes, it's a pretty big deal for me because this is my second one. We got one when the real Guess Who was touring. Not the fake Guess Who that's out there, but the real Guess Who reunited in 2000 and 2001, and we got a star back then. And now I'm getting a star as a solo artist, so I'm the first person really that will have 2 stars on the Walk of Fame in Toronto, which is very special for me.
That is pretty neat, and I also hear that you're going to be performing at the event coming up in the fall.
Oh, yes. Yes, well, last year, Eric McCormick from Will and Grace was given a star, and he had been a fan of mine since he was very young. He met me once backstage way back in the 70s when he was quite young, and his big wish was for me to come down and perform for him the day he got his star. So I think I'm going to reciprocate this year and ask that he come down and read one of my poems from my poetry book that will be coming out sometime. So I think that'll be kind of neat, and he'll probably say yes. But I think the actual induction will probably be Gordon Lightfoot, who actually hands the star over to me.
Well, that's an honor too.
Oh, absolutely. Lightfoot was a huge inspiration for me as a songwriter when I was very, very young. We looked up, Randy Bachman and I looked up to him in awe because he was the first guy in Canada we ever saw come out and do an entire show of his own original songs. So he was a real inspiration to us.
Now, I couldn't help noticing you mentioning the fake Guess Who. While we're on that topic, I was wondering if you think that's creating some confusion for fans when they hear that you're on tour.
It has created confusion for years because they go ahead and use the real records with my voice and Randy's guitars and Kurt Winter's guitars. They use the real records to promote their shows. And then you go there, and it's just a bunch of guys that no one's heard of. It's kind of sad, but it happens all the time. They're basically like the Platters or the Temptations, and there's probably 3 or 4 Platters and Temptations out there on the road now, but it's not the real thing. The real fans know the difference, and that's the most important thing to me.
Now, I did actually have the opportunity to see you with the Guess Who, but that was back at the Toronto SARS Festival.
Oh, right, the big one.
Yeah.
That was quite the day. That was quite a day. There were AC/DC and the Stones and Rush and a lot of very, very big performers. I think it's in the Guinness Book of Records as the largest paying audience ever in North America. 600,000, I think, something like that. Over 500,000 anyway. And when we were on the stage doing that show, when we looked out toward the crowd met the horizon. That's how far back it went. The crowd went as far back as it met the horizon at the end when you looked at the end of your point of view, your vision. It was amazing.
I think I was somewhere in the middle, but I truly could not see the end, and it was definitely the biggest crowd I've ever been a part of.
Oh, yeah, it was quite something. We had to come in on a private train, and it was a very special day. Very, very special day.
Well, now you're on your solo tour currently, your backyard tour. And now, who are the players on your current tour?
Well, I've had the same band. It's a band called the Carpet Frogs from Toronto, and they're a tremendous cover band. When I'm not with them, they play a lot, and they do Beatles and Stones and Kinks and Zombies and Paul Revere, and they're a very good cover band. So it serves me well when we all get together, because when we do Guess Who songs and Burton Cummings songs, it always sounds like the record. They're a very, very good band. So we've been working together regularly for about 10 years now. It's really a good band.
Now, just out of curiosity, I'm thinking, you mentioned seeing the sea of people at that SARS festival with no end in sight and seeing beyond the horizon, and then you're doing your solo tour at some smaller venues. Do you have a preference, or does it change your performance at all, depending on the venue that you perform?
It doesn't really change the performance. We work pretty hard no matter where we are, and I'm not so sure I like one better than the other. I like being up close to the people, but I also like big crowds. Once we get going, after 3 or 4 songs, it really doesn't matter to us because the show kind of takes over and gains its own momentum.
Now, Above the Ground is your latest solo effort, and I was thinking that your career has spanned quite a while. More than 40 years you've been in the music industry. It's changed a lot, certainly, over the years, especially, I think, the recording side of it with all the digital recording.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not the same business at all anymore. And really, without the internet, there's nowhere for new acts to break wide open. So the internet really is it's more of a tool now than ever before. But the recording industry had its own way for so long. We were grossly overpaying for CDs for years and years. When CDs first hit in the mainstream in the early 1980s, we were paying up to $25 a disc, and then they only cost about 12 or 15 cents to make. So the record companies really had their way for so long. It's almost retribution in a strange way now, what has happened. But the genie is out of the bottle. Most cities don't have very many record stores left anymore.
No, you don't see them at all. Do you think that it's been difficult to adapt because it's been such a big change?
Well, I think what has happened, the most obvious thing that has happened is that it has made live shows more important than ever. If you don't have a good live show, then really and truly it's much more important than it used to be, performing live.
And you're in the middle, like we said, of your backyard tour. What should the fans expect when you hit the stage?
Well, we know why people are coming to see me, and we concentrate on the big records. We do These Eyes and American Woman and Share the Land and Clap for the Wolfman and Stand Tall. The songs that are, No Sugar Tonight, the songs that are really associated with my voice. And the next thing you know, we've done 90 minutes, 100 minutes. I mean, we were doing 2 hours plus in Canada, and we have to cut the shows down slightly for the American tours because some places don't want that long. But the people that come to see us definitely they go home happy because they've heard the big famous songs with which my voice is associated.
Well, you've certainly got enough material to keep it going for quite a while.
We could play 3 hours with no problem.
Aside from being a singer, you also play keyboards, you're a guitarist, you even gave fans a jazzy flute solo in Undone with the Guess Who years ago. I'm wondering what your instrument of choice is.
Well, piano is my mainstay because I took lessons from the time I was 5 or 6 years old, and I think the piano allowed me to learn other instruments more easily. I think when you have piano as a basis, it really, it's the most complex of all the instruments because you can play 10 notes at once. So it gives you a really good basis to switch to other instruments. I think that's why I was able to pick up a saxophone and a flute and a guitar. And I play a little bit of harmonica too. And I think the piano was a good basis for all those other instruments. I learned the mathematics of music on piano, and it helped me transfer my knowledge to other instruments.
You had mentioned earlier your book of poetry, and I've always kind of thought of songwriting as kind of poetry too.
Well, it is in a sense, it is. I do keep the two kind of separate, though. I kind of know the difference when I'm writing a song. It has a different structure. When I'm purely doing words for poems and prose, it really has a bit of a different structure. I have a different approach when there's no music involved. So my book of poetry will be coming out sometime before the end of this year, and I've had a lot of great feedback concerning the poems because I put a lot of them up online just to test the waters, and the real fans have really come to love the poetry. It's not something that everyone can do, and it's not something that everyone really appreciates, but the certain fans I have are absolutely loving the poems. So that's something that I will pursue. I have enough for 2 books, but I picked my favorite ones for the first book.
You know, I did happen to read some online. I really enjoyed The Coming of the Now. And
Thank you very much. That's one of my favorites. That's sort of an Edgar Allan Poe type, about impending doom. But one of the neat things about that one is they allowed me to read that on national television in Canada a while back. I was on the Hour with George Stroumboulopoulos, which is a very big show coming out of Toronto. It goes national in Canada, and they were kind enough to let me read The Coming of the Nell on television, and it sparked so much more. It was seen nationally in Canada, and it sparked an awful lot more interest in the poetry book. So I'm quite excited about the book of poems, actually.
I'm actually very much looking forward to reading it. I'm a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan. He's my very favorite author. So
he was amazing.
You mentioned him, yeah.
He and Rudyard Kipling are 2 of my favorites, and I read a lot of Keats. The nice thing about the internet is you can go now and immerse yourself in the poetry of the great artists. It's all there at the click of a key. So I allow myself to be influenced by the best, and I do read a lot of poetry by some of the greats.
Aside from all of your musical interests and your writing interests, I also hear you're a pretty avid comic book collector.
Well, I have a huge collection. It goes back to the Golden Age, back to the 40s, and I was one of the lucky ones that was able to hang on to some of them that I had as a kid. My mother didn't throw everything out the way sometimes mothers do. So I hung on to a lot of stuff. I'm a big Superman fan. The Superman family, the Superman DC comics are my favorite. Superman, Batman, Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, action, adventure, that whole bunch.
Well, there's a lot of new movies coming out based on the comic books. I was wondering if
Green Lantern just came out, and Green Lantern has been one of my favorite comic book characters for years. So we'll see how that translates to the big screen.
Well, there's something else to look forward to.
Absolutely, yes.
I'm going to stay off the beaten path for a second here and mention that I happened to catch a picture of you in a Winnipeg Jets hockey jersey.
Oh, yeah.
The Atlanta Thrashers are going to be the next incarnation of the Jets in the upcoming season. I'm wondering if we're going to see an updated photo of you in a new jersey.
Oh, probably. That's my hometown, and, it'll always be my hometown. And I was the celebrity captain of the Jets in the 75th anniversary for the NHL. So I did a lot of singing of the national anthems. And probably I'll be doing that again when the team gets going in Winnipeg.
I'm sure you're excited about that. Is there anything that you would like to add?
Oh, just that we're feeling good, The band is hopping like crazy after we just did 21 shows in 30 days. And I'm 63 now, so that's a little tougher than it used to be. But the main thing is that physically I feel pretty good, what tells me. So that's the main thing. I'm not out here doing this because I have to. I'm out here touring because I really love it. And the people, that's the main thing. The fans are loving it. So we're looking forward to this very, very much.
Now, what is it like touring now compared to touring 20, 30 years ago?
Well, the actual performing is not that different. For me, it's not all that different, other than the fact that we can connect so much online before the shows that I think the expectations might be a little greater nowadays because of so much information being transferred around. But the actual shows, it's not that much different for me, really and truly.
Well, we're all looking forward to seeing you in Lockport on the 8th of July, and I thank you very much for talking with us today.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was my pleasure, and we look forward to it, too. We're rocking and rolling. It's going to be a great summer for us.
Excellent. I'm Dee Haley,
Okay.
and we've been talking with Burton Cummings on BackstageAxxess.com.